that's contact. Got away with one there.
Well, it's 3rd down and 10 now.
Well, this is 4-down territory. You can go for it on 4th down. Still got a lot of time. You might get the ball back.
Oh, the blitz comes. Petty has to unload it, so he didn't take the...
Well, I think Petty got hurt.
Yeah, he's hobbling.
When Petty went down, it was, the same thing that always happens to Gamecocks. Seems to be rearing its ugly head.
Typical Gamecock mentality. We're going to lose this game. We're going to lose this game.
It was in this game a year ago that Phil Petty was hurt and missed 5 consecutive games and caused the offense to go into shambles.
You're like, now what do we do? We're screwed. We're like, yeah, really?
Who knows who's going to come out and play quarterback for South Carolina?
You got Kimrey, he's got a little bit of passing experience.
Of course, Erik Kimrey was a decent quarterback and a smart guy.
Looks like Erik Kimrey, 6'1", 200-pound sophomore from Irmo, South Carolina.
All we knew was that an untested Erik Kimrey was coming in to try to secure this victory over Mississippi State for us.
I think a lot of things prepared him for that situation. I think his calmness in high school and playing under pressure.
He just always loved it, even as a toddler, just, throwing the ball around and catching his own passes and stuff like that.
Being a son of a football coach puts expectations on yourself that you would never believe, the pressure that's there.
Erik Kimrey said, "Coach, I can throw the fade."
I was sitting in the south end zone. We were trailing. Erik comes in, 4th down, 10.
What a situation for Kimrey. You want to become a hero? All you got to do is complete a pass for about 11 yards.
When he's getting ready to take the snap, I got both fingers crossed in my right and left hands. I'm thinking, oh, please let us do something right.
And I said, oh, Lord, here he goes. And I'm sitting there thinking, all right, they're going to bring the blitz.
Falls back, tosses it.
It just hung up in the air, forever.
Everybody's eyes focused on Erik as he released the ball, watched the fade pass go through the air.
It was one of these, and I didn't know that it was going to work.
To this day, when I think back about it, it's quite amazing to think about the person that I was kind of reared to be around the game, to the training that I had as a quarterback. You look at it and you say, you know what, things happen for a reason. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it was an accident that I was in that place at that time. And as a 37-year-old man now, I look back with gratitude. Football has been in my life since I can remember. I think it starts as being a young boy and throwing balls up to yourself in your living room, and that progresses to a teenager helping his little brothers on the field and coming up with an offense and learning the game under my father and playing the position in high school as the fade kind of being my go-to checkout play.
I would come home from work. He was in the 6th or 7th grade, and he had his 2 little brothers out in the front yard taking on the other kids in the neighborhood. And they had hand signals for their plays, and he would, tell his 2 little brothers, this signal means post corner, this signal means reverse. And they would go out and he would quarterback, and Kevin and Kyle would run plays, and they would beat all the kids in the neighborhood, and Erik, he knew the strategies. He had them running picks and stuff, and Kevin and Kyle were just in elementary school. I knew right then he was going to be a coach, and he followed me around all the time in the locker room. He was at all the games.
From elementary school, I would take the bus from Meadowfield here down the road and take it to Lordstown High School and go to my dad's practice every single day, where I would be a ball boy or an equipment manager or whatever he would have me do that day.
I used to dress him out at Lower Richland in a little uniform. He'd run up down the sideline, and the officials would ask me who he was. I'd tell them I didn't know.
I lived and died by those games. I remember going down 378 and seeing the lights from behind the trees kind of come out, and I would get those butterflies in my stomach just as a 5-6-year-old boy. And if we won the game, it was a great weekend. If we lost the game, it was a miserable weekend. So I learned quickly what it meant to win and lose and the impact that had on my father, on his team, and even on our family. Our life was about football during the season. My mom did a great job of being a coach's wife and of picking up the slack. because my dad was just gone a lot.
One son was playing JV, another was playing beat team, and so there was like 3 or 4 football games I had to go to a week. But it was fun. I supported them. I wanted to back them up in anything they did.
Coming out of high school, I was offered by some smaller schools. My best offer was the Naval Academy. I wasn't exactly fleet of foot, and I didn't have the strongest arm in the world. My biggest asset was my brain and my ability to throw the ball accurately. So I committed to go to the Naval Academy, and I was ready to go. My cousin was a kicker there, and 2 other guys on my team had committed to go there as well. Brad Scott was the head coach at the University of South Carolina at the time, and Coach Scott approached me about walking on at South Carolina and just said, "Eric, come walk on. If you don't fall flat on your face, I'll put you on scholarship." So I sat down with my girlfriend at the time and now wife, Erica, and we made a list of pros and cons, and we weighted each thing. And the Naval Academy, its list, its pros were far more than the ones at the University of South Carolina.
My dad was a big football fan, so I actually really enjoy that, and I love that dynamic in a family and then at home. So the Kimrey family just felt very natural to me.
But she said one thing to me. She said, "Eric, you've never been about financials or a degree or whatever it may be. You've always been about following your heart." And something was just drawing me to South Carolina. And so I made the decision, which is not what my list told me to make, which was to go to the University of South Carolina.
Been the Gamecock his whole life, and I played there, and that was just the Kimreys or Gamecocks, and that's what we are.
We won the very first game against Ball State, and we lost the next 10. And unfortunately, Coach Scott, who I have a lot of admiration for, was fired at the end of the year. After going 1-10, Coach Scott's last year, we bring in a guy named Lou Holtz to be our coach. But that year was a rough year. We didn't win a game, and I was the only quarterback on the roster that didn't play. I got to play in my first game as a backup against New Mexico State, that first game in 2000. And it meant a lot to me. I was able to get in and lead a drive for a touchdown, and our 21-game losing streak was ended, and the goalposts were ripped down. It almost hit me in the head, one of the goalposts.
I remember the students taking the goalpost down and marching the goalpost through 5 points to celebrate that victory.
We're 3-0 after just beating Eastern Michigan, and Mississippi State comes into town. They were ranked in the top 20, 25 in the country and had a very good football team. They had played for the SEC championship the year before and lost. So this was kind of the game to say, all right, are the Gamecocks for real? Did they just get lucky against Georgia and beat 2 average to below average teams? Mississippi State had controlled the game for the most part. We started to make a comeback in the fourth quarter. We scored a touchdown to cut it to 6. We stopped them, and we're going down the field. Well, on the 3rd and 10, the defensive outside linebacker came and flushed Phil out of the pocket and kind of undercut him, and he fell a little bit funky on his ankle. And I remember standing on the sideline, seeing Phil go down, and he kind of grabbed his ankle, and then he tried to stand up, and then he fell back down, and that's when I knew I needed to go get my helmet. I really didn't have time to get nervous. Just threw a couple passes, and I just thought about executing the play. So the ball was snapped, and we were taught just to catch it, flip it, and throw it. I didn't even have the laces. I caught the ball, I threw that pass without the laces.
My thought process is, it's 4th and 10. I need to get open and make sure I'm at 10 yards if he's slinging the ball to me. So especially with Eric coming in, I'm thinking it might be coming out a little quicker. In all honesty, I'm thinking he's probably throwing it out wide, and he's probably throwing it to JK.
If you look at the film, you can see that had I tried to adjust or anything, I would have gotten sacked. One of their outside linebackers was on me as soon as the ball was gone. But I looked out of the corner of my eye, and I saw Jermel was getting jammed up just a touch. And I threw the ball with a little more air than I normally would to give Jermel the chance to kind of run underneath it. And at first, when it came out of my hand, I thought, oh my God, I think I might have overthrown that a little bit. Because I realized the gravity of the situation. Like, if we win this game, like, this is going to be a big deal. I didn't think it'd be as big a deal as it is today. But I knew that, I would have played a huge role in us winning this game.
We knew it was a big deal. I mean, the energy in that stadium was like I've never seen it before. There was something about that game that just told Gamecock Nation that we could win.
Sometimes fame changes people. It'd be real easy to fall into that trap, and he didn't. His life changed with the fade, but it didn't change him.
Erik Kimrey really embodies all that we stand for at Hammond. We certainly knew the value of football, and our head coach was Phil Petty, and he introduced us to Erik Kimrey. And essentially, they traded places. He came highly recommended, so Dr. Barks and I spoke and took a risk on a very young coach that has clearly paid off well for us.
He pushes the kids to be the best that they can possibly be, and I've seen a lot of kids come through that were not that athletically gifted. He's taught them how to play football. He and Jeff Barnes and his staff they've really learned how to take average kids and get extraordinary things out of them by making them play as a team.
I think a lot of people may have thought it was just, they hired a local name that had some notoriety with his dad being a local football coach for generations, but man, he just really took the school in a whole nother direction as far as football goes, and he built a championship culture.
He's all about the process, but focusing on how they can be the best young men, and winning just comes as a result of that process.
And to see all those kids work their fannies off and see the success come, it was really a gratifying experience.
The numbers speak for themselves, 100 wins, one of the youngest coaches ever to get to 100 wins, all the state titles, the consecutive appearances in the finals.
Austin learned that hard work could pay off. Didn't mean you were going to be a superstar, but it paid off. You just keep getting after it every day. You work at it and you work at it, and the lessons learned from playing for Erik for 4 years of having to work his fanny off to get himself on the field will pay off as an adult. It paid off for him as he got through the Citadel. It paid off for him as he got through law school, that he just had to work every day at it to make sure that you're successful. You get better every day.
He'd break you down. Even if he broke you down in practice 10 plays in a row, he wasn't going to let you get off the practice field without coming up and slapping you on the back and saying, hey, you did a good job practice today.
To be pushed, personally, I worked hard, but when I didn't want to work hard, I didn't want to work hard. And so it was great to have Coach Kimrey push me beyond the point of where I would push myself.
What he's done at Hammond, what he's done with those young men, making them into making them into men, and then making them into you can see on the field just mentally how he can puppeteer a game. He can make things happen out there that shouldn't happen with some of those players.
There's almost like redemption in every season where the team, the coaches, the kids all kind of struggle with something. Every year it's a little bit different. Every team struggles different. But to watch a team get through that and get to the championship game and win, there's just redemption in that. I think it's kind of a thing of beauty, actually.
I knew that my child was going to be coached, and he was going to learn, and he was going to develop. He was going to be challenged as a player, and outside of football-related things, I knew that the coaches cared. I knew that Erik genuinely cared, what was going on with the guys. I've seen it firsthand personally through his interactions with other kids as well as, my kids, to where it really matters to him how their day was.
I would probably rate our successes on things like a kid that he once coached comes back to see him and says, Coach, I don't know who else to talk to, but my parents are splitting up and I don't know what to do. It's kids that are struggling from addiction or just wrong, bad choices they've made, and they trust him.
When you're trying to bring out the best in a player, I think you first have to love them. You have to care about them. They have to know that you care about them. Fundamentally, we have to understand that as coaches, we're coaching human beings. We're not coaching commodities. We're not coaching professionals. These are young men that are learning about life, and we can use the sport of football to help educate them and to help equip them for life. I love working with young people, and first and foremost, I wanted to use the game as a tool to impact them, to have a good influence on what I feel like are going to be movers and shakers in culture here in Columbia and here in the state. There's so many opportunities for this game to teach young men how to adapt to life and to be a good citizen and to give of themselves and to love others.
I've had the fortune to spend a lot of time around Erik, but never have I been more proud of him as a human being than I was in the wake of the flood, and how he inspired and led our students to help the community of Columbia in a way that will never be forgotten.
I saw, Erik and Jeff Barnes drive up and said, "How many boys do you need?" And I said, "As many as you can send here." And all of a sudden I went from being coach to being foreman, and I had, four of my defensive backs and a couple of offensive linemen in there pulling up carpet and floorboard, and it was like having practice.
Go to Miss Fowler's house.
48 Quail?
Yeah. All right, y'all are over there.
And then from that moment on, he was calling plays, metaphorically speaking, and getting the students where they needed to be and organizing them all around the city. And I think we were in 70 or 80 different homes, helping them pull all their furniture out, carpet, everything that they needed to do. And it was amazing that as a football team, we were able to help improve that many families' lives.
Monday afternoon, when we came back to our house and really started assessing the situation and trying to figure out what we were going to do, we knew we needed help, and we needed a lot of help, and we didn't know where we were going to get it. When I saw those kids show up, they were so happy to be here and so anxious to be here. It really speaks to their character, how they've been taught on the field, off the field, and also how their parents have reared them.
They came back every day for that whole week. He would tell you that was the best week of coaching in his career, and I agree.
I think football is an unbelievable teacher for young people today. In fact, I think more people should play football. Number one, it teaches you what's true and what's real because you have rules that you have to follow. Number two, it teaches you a lot about yourself and who you are because you're put into situations where they really reveal kind of who you are in your essence. And number three, it forces you to take what's real in yourself and push them into a relationship with other people to where you have to put them above yourself and you understand yourself in either further context of in relationship with other people.
I think one of the things that Erik has managed really well is that expectation of we're always going to win. And while we want our students to expect to win when they step foot on the field, it is a lot of pressure when you win a lot of games in a row and you lose very rarely. And we've been fortunate in that regard. But when we lose, that's where I see Erik shine even more than when we win, because he helps our students understand what you get through losing. And those are the lessons that we're going to take with us in life.
We learn a lot more from our losses than we do from our wins a lot of times.
Because as much as you win, you're going to lose 10 times more in life, okay? But what kind of man you are is how you respond to this loss. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your coach. All right? Yeah, winning's not the greatest thing in the world. I like it. It's a lot of fun, but it's not the reason that I coach. And so when you lose, if your motivation is something other than just winning, I think it helps you handle the loss as well. I'm in this because I love football. I feel like it's a great teaching tool. One of those things that you learn is how to compete. And when you compete, of course you want to win. But if you compete to the best of your ability and you got beat that day, I agree with John Wooden. What is success? Success is a peace of mind knowing I've done the best I can.
Erik taught me a lot. Always put your mind to be determined to do what you can do. But one thing that sticks out the most that Erik taught me was, he says, it's the spiritual walk that matters the most, not the physical walk. And when he told me that, I thought, wow, Erik, what do you mean by that? Erik says, well, Kevin, your spiritual walk will be forever. Your physical walk will end with someday. It will end for me, it will end for your mother, it will end for everyone else. But your spiritual walk will remain forever. And to me, when he told me that, it made a big impact on how I lived my life from that day forth.
When Kevin was injured, I remember it was a Sunday. I was going to a meeting at night. My mom called and said, hey, your brother's been hurt. We're going to the hospital and the ambulance. I'm sure it's nothing.
Kevin and Kyle were on restriction that week. And so they called me at the office, Dad, can we go to church picnic? Well, how you tell a kid they can't go to a church picnic, you know? So yeah, go ahead and go. I wish that I would have left them on restriction, but I didn't. But they were out playing in the yard, playing football, and the man comes to the back door and says, come and eat, food's ready. And damn, they said, one more play. and that was it. Kyle threw the ball up, and Kevin went up, and he knocked it down and fell to the ground, and his best friend's hip fell right on the side of his head and broke his neck, C4, C5.
See someone that you love so much face such hardship and in a tragic situation, and not just for him, but for my whole family. It was difficult, but at the same time, it strengthened us as a family. I think it strengthened Kevin as a person. I think his character is much richer now than it was then. He has to go through extraordinarily hard things every single day. And to watch him face that with courage is inspiring for me.
You know, I think that through what Erik's been as a player and what he did with the fade is so rare. You know, that we see something like that happen, 4th and 10 or whatever it was. You know, 4th down, he threw up a fade to Jamel Kelly, and the crowd cheering, 84,000 fans cheering. What's the odds of that happening? You know, it's rare. Person playing tag football, me, going out there and just playing with my friends and I break my neck, chance that was odd. But 2 odds make it even. I think God brought those together.
His family, his cousins, and everyone have helped a lot, you know, in different situations. So it's been a family affair, and I think Kevin's been strong. He's my hero.
Well, I hope that the people who watch this would take from it or get from it or see from it the love of family, the good and the bad, sticking together and being there for each other in bad times and in good times, and knowing that God's in control of all this. I believe that.
Everybody remembers the call, the play. If you say the fade to a Carolina fan, they're going to know instantly.
I was in the south end zone.
I was in the east stands, upper deck.
In the cheap seats. Way.
West stands. I think our seats were on about the 35, 40-yard line.
Right next to the south end zone, like section 500, the red seats.
My wife and I were in the waiting room at Palmetto Baptist Hospital.
I was always told that I was born during some big football thing, and I didn't really think much of it. Later, I figured out exactly what it was, and it was an interesting coincidence.
I guess about 10 or 15 minutes before the actual pass or so was when she decided, okay, I'm coming.
We're watching the game. The waiting room is full of people. Erik Kimrey threw the pass, and as I am jumping up and down, the nurse is right there with me saying, "You have a new grandchild."
Everybody in the waiting room was screaming, and then she came out screaming, so she was already a Gamecock fan. You know, she had to come out screaming for the Gamecocks to win. So.
I thought that was really cool that I went to the same school of Coach Kimrey that he was coaching at, because it was really a giant coincidence that I was born at the same time that he threw the fade, and he is the football coach and helped out teaching me.
Let's look at this, 4th down. He's not had a snap. Here comes that pressure. Lofts it up, looking for Kelly. Touchdown! Can you believe it?
God seemed to smile down on the Gamecocks that day.
And he throws it perfect. Throws a perfect pass.
The rest is history.
I mean, the whole place went crazy.
Pandemonium reigns in William Bryce Stadium.
Everybody was turning around looking at us like we had thrown it.
As I was watching and the crowd was yelling, Phil Petty's mom came over and gave me a huge hug. It just held on to me, you know, like, you know, she was so happy, you know, that he was able to do that.
Erik Kimrey to Jamel Kelly, touchdown.
He was a hero. He was a legend.
When he hit that pass, it just changed everything.
Where we were in football at the time was like a jump start to a comeback season. Changed the team's confidence, everything else.
Do you want to enter the Hall of Fame? Watch this pass. They'll have pictures of this up on the wall.
The place went bananas, and geez, people to this day still tell me about where they were when I threw the fade, and I've never heard the stadium so loud, either before that or since it, and it was just an unbelievable moment.
That's what it says about Erik Kimrey, but let me tell you something. After the next few days, if Carolina can hold on here, he will be a household name in this state.
We didn't know that we'd be showing it to our kids one day. We didn't know that people would ask our kids, hey, is your dad the one who threw the fade? And they actually know the answer, and they kind of know all about this big moment. But that night, I don't think we were thinking very far beyond this amazing Saturday of our college life. I think what's special about it is that he was there at that time on that team at that particular point in Gamecock history.
It's just one of those moments that you'll live forever in your mind.
To be able to contribute that year in that manner meant a lot to me. As a guy that was a walk-on that really had to work hard to even be on the field, to produce in a moment like that was just really special. We're put into situations sometimes that we think are random and chaotic, and they're not. There's something higher going on there, for sure.